For centuries, a question has haunted historians, archaeologists, and believers alike. Where does King David lie? An enigma that unites faith, history, and science. A quest that takes us to the very heart of Jerusalem. Since ancient times, David's tomb has been a magnet for treasure hunters and conquerors, drawn by legends of unimaginable riches. The historian Flavius Josephus recounts the failed attempts of John Hyrcanus and Herod the Great to loot it. But the tomb, stubborn, kept its secrets. Today, thousands visit Mount Zion believing that the king rests there. But is this the true location? Ancient texts, such as the books of Kings and Nehemiah, point to the city of David as his original sepulchre. A location lost in time, buried under layers of history. In 1867, a man named Charles Warren changed the game. He rediscovered the ancient city of David, challenging centuries of beliefs. The tomb of King David, a puzzle that might been already solved. A journey through legends, ruins, and the memory of a king whose echo resonates to this day. But David's importance goes far beyond his tomb. For Jews, Christians, and Muslims, his figure is fundamental. He is the king, the prophet, the ancestor of the Messiah. It is of special interest to Christians, who connect Psalm 16:10 with Peter's speech in Acts 2. His legacy transcends religion. His psalms inspired Dante and Shakespeare. His life, full of triumphs and mistakes, resonates in music, from Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah to countless melodies. From shepherd to king, from musician to warrior, from just judge to broken sinner. David is the archetype of the imperfect hero. His history shaped political philosophy, inspired leaders like Napoleon, and gave form to characters like Hamlet. Finding his tomb would be a monumental discovery. Beyond faith, it would be a bridge to a figure whose cultural impact spans 3 millennia. Even in our secular world, David endures. His statue, sculpted by Michelangelo, is a symbol of human strength. Leaders invoke his wisdom. The tomb of King David, a mystery wrapped in stone and time, holds a meaning that transcends borders and beliefs. Could it be possible that it has already been discovered? To understand the search for David's tomb, we must first understand how death was understood in ancient Israel. The Bible offers us valuable accounts of burials from that time, revealing much more than simple customs. The first burial described in detail is that of Sarah, Abraham's wife, in Genesis 23. Abraham negotiates the purchase of the cave of Machpelah, thus establishing a fundamental practice, the creation of a family burial place. Although the Bible doesn't always detail every step, we know that the preparation of the body was a sacred ritual. The body was washed, anointed with aromatic oils like myrrh, and wrapped in a linen shroud. An act of honor, purification, and preparation for the afterlife. But there was something more, a profound connection between life, death, and holiness. In ancient Israel, there was a key concept: ritual impurity, tumah, associated with death. It wasn't a matter of physical dirtiness, but of an alteration of the sacred order. Numbers 19 makes it clear: contact with a corpse generated the most severe form of impurity. The impure person had to be isolated and undergo a complex purification ritual, using the ashes of a red heifer. This ritual was not a punishment, but a way to restore balance, to protect the sanctity of the community. The cities were spaces of life, of divine presence. Cemeteries, tanneries, execution sites, and waste were exiled outside the walls. Even executed criminals deserved a swift burial. Delaying it was a dishonor, both to the deceased and to the land. For even these retained the Tselem Elohim, the image of God. Just as idolatry, moral death, is expelled, physical death is quarantined. Both actions protect communal holiness. Archaeology offers us a unique window into the past. With it, we try to understand what happened based on the material that has remained, contrasting ancient texts with physical evidence. But in the case of Jerusalem, and before the 8th century BCE, evidence of burials is surprisingly scarce. The earliest rock-cut tombs in the region are Canaanite, from over 5,000 years ago. But then, a silence of almost a millennium. This custom reappears in the 8th century BCE, but no longer with the Canaanites, but with a different people, the Israelites. Today, if we walk through the Kidron Valley, we can see the remains as silent witnesses of this era. Like the rock-cut tombs of Silwan, the monument of Pharaoh's daughter, Hebrew inscriptions, now faded, tell us of a world where the impurity of death shaped the landscape, and where holiness demanded distance. Most ancient Israelites were buried in simple tombs, ditches, cavities, modest tombs that due to perishable materials have left hardly a trace. But the wealthier families, they did leave their mark. Rock-cut tombs, much more elaborate, that have survived the passage of time. In ancient Israel, fertile land was a treasure. It was reserved for agriculture, not for the dead. That's why many burials were carried out in rocky, steep areas, places less suitable for cultivation. And of course, the biblical laws of purity required burials to be carried out outside the walls of Jerusalem. The most elaborate tombs of the First Temple period, from the 8th and 7th centuries BCE, are found precisely in these peripheral areas. Wealthy residents commissioned funerary caves carved into the rock. Authentic family mausoleums used for generations. These tombs, masterfully carved, were a symbol of status, a reflection of the power and wealth of the elite. Ketef Hinnom, Saint Etienne, the Silwan necropolis, continue to show us that opulence denounced by the prophet Isaiah. One of these tombs is especially significant, the tomb of the royal steward. In 1870, Charles Clermont-Ganneau discovered inscriptions that revealed the identity of its occupant.
This is the sepulchre of Yahoo who is over the house. There is no silver or gold here, only his bones, and the bones of his maidservant with him. Cursed be the man who opens this.
In 1979, Gabriel Barquet's excavations at Ketef Hinnom unearthed funerary chambers from the Iron Age. Hundreds of human remains, and more than 1,000 artifacts, pottery, jewelry, personal objects, an archaeological treasure that allows us to glimpse the funerary customs of the time.
So David slept with his fathers, and was buried in the city of David.
Although Bethlehem, his hometown, is also known as the city of David, the book of Nehemiah confirms that his tomb is within Jerusalem. And he was not the only one. Many of his successors, kings of Judah, were also buried within the city. But this raises a question. What is the reason for the exception of burying these kings within the city? The case of King Uzziah, also known as Azariah, is particularly intriguing. The biblical accounts about his burial are apparently contradictory. One book says he was buried in the city of David, another that his leprosy prevented him from being buried with his ancestors. But a stone tablet, discovered in the 20th century, sheds light on this mystery.
Here were brought the bones of Uzziah, king of Judah. Do not open.
This inscription suggests that Uzziah's remains were moved, perhaps for fear of ritual impurity, or perhaps due to the city's expansion. But let's return to the original question. Why bury the kings within Jerusalem? One possible explanation is security, protecting the royal tombs from desecration. In the ancient Near East, the desecration of royal tombs was not unheard of. The prophet Amos, in fact, condemns the Moabites for burning the bones of the king of Edom. Perhaps, most importantly, the southern part of the city, the furthest from the temple, was originally uninhabited. It is likely that it was designated as a royal cemetery, perhaps even surrounded by walls. But over time, this royal cemetery would have become saturated. The prophet Ezekiel condemns the profanation of God's holy name by the house of Israel and its kings.
and my holy name shall the house of Israel no more defile, neither they nor their kings by their whoredom, nor by the carcasses of their kings.
Is Ezekiel referring to the location of the royal tombs inside the city, or is it a metaphor for idolatry? The debate continues.
Own a piece of biblical history. Carry with you the priestly blessing, the oldest biblical text ever discovered. Direct from the city of David, each purchase of its unique products directly supports the biblical archaeological excavations and discoveries in the cradle of Jerusalem. Visit store.cityofdavid.org.il and use my code CODG10001 to get your discount and help unearth biblical history.